It's signing week here at 24/7 Sports, and we are taking a look at LSU's 2024 class, which ranks number 7 in the overall rankings and 5th in the SEC. It's a class that includes 12 players who won a state championship at the high school level. Now, for more on this class, Hudson Standish and Cooper Petagna join me. We will start with the highest rated player in LSU's class, and that is 5-star defensive lineman Dominic McKinley. He's kind of a new commit for the Tigers. He announced on December 23rd, so he's waiting to sign until this February date. But Hudson, what kind of player are the Tigers getting in McKinley?
He is a big-framed, massive athlete that honestly new LSU defensive line coach Bo Davis has to be just thrilled that, he misses out when he's recruiting Dominic McKinley at Texas, but he gets him at LSU. And considering what Bo Davis has done developing interior defensive linemen, I think Dominic McKinley's a perfect fit. He has a ton of juice, plenty of production, and really during the Under Armour All-American game that Cooper was at, he flashed a ton and made his, case for 5-star status.
Now, this is what they're supposed to look like in Louisiana. When you think about a Louisiana defensive lineman, you think about guys that look like Dominic McKinley. So you might say, well, what does Dominic McKinley look like? Well, look at the screen, 6'5.5", 280 pounds. He's got long arms. He's got big mitts. He can move people off the line of scrimmage. And like Hudson said, when we got to see him in Orlando at the Under Armour All-America game, this was a guy that was a force. Nobody could really stop him. So quick twitch, explosive, and so much developmental upside. Everything is there from a physical talent standpoint. He's going to need a little bit of polish, but that's why they're paying Bo Davis a lot of money, who came over from Texas, now back at LSU. You think about guys like Dominic McKinley and the guys that he's had in the past. LSU's got to get back to the basics at defensive line, and that's why they invested so much in this position. Getting a guy like Dominic McKinley, that's going to be a great start for Bo Davis. Still a lot more work to do there.
LSU had one of the top offenses in the nation in 2023. Now they're just reloading with blue chip talent at wide receiver, running back, and tight end. Coop, which skill players do you think could make an instant impact?
Well, I like Kylan Billiot. I don't know if it's going to be an immediate impact, but I like this kid a lot. You think about guys like Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. Both of those guys probably going to go in the first round of this upcoming NFL draft. And then you think about a guy like Kylan Billiot out of Terrebonne in Louisiana. He was kind of just on the radar, hanging around, and then all of a sudden he shows up in San Antonio. I thought he was one of the most impressive receivers there, and that's saying a lot because this year's receiving crop from a national standpoint is absolutely loaded, and he looked like one of the best guys in attendance. So I like him. You think about a guy like Jelani Watkins, who can absolutely fly, sub 10.2 in the 100 meters. So they're getting a lot of speed, a lot of versatility. So I like these two, the way they complement each other. Cortez Hankton has done a phenomenal job, the receivers coach there in Baton Rouge. They continue to stockpile talent, and that's what you got to do. So Garrett Nussmeier going to have a lot of toys at his dispense this upcoming season.
Grace, I went with Trey'Dez Green. We talked about Dominic McKinley's frame, but Trey'Dez Green, almost 6'6.5", really played a lot of wide receiver as a high schooler. But you want to talk about the long-term upside. This was somebody who transferred from East Feliciana to Zachary, and as a senior, really playing more as a wideout, had an incredible campaign that nearly merited him 5th-star status. LSU loves to use some 12 personnel. Trey'Dez might not be ready as a blocker yet, but as you can see on the screen, in the red zone, he is an absolute nightmare in contested catch situations.
Now, looking at Brian Kelly's biggest position hauls in this class, it's kind of reflective of the roster's biggest needs in 2023. He's bringing in 7 defensive linemen, 6 defensive backs, and 6 offensive linemen. Hudson, which position group do you feel is the most improved here?
I went with the offensive line. LSU ended up being a Joe Moore Award finalist, really talented group that has a nice mix of top 247 prospects and Weston Davis, Cohen Eccles, but also some developmental pieces. Ori Williams out of San Marcos could easily turn into a potential NFL draft choice just with his frame, mix in some of the interior bodies they have. I think this has been a fantastic call for LSU.
Huddy, I like the way you think. I love the offensive line. I think Brad Davis, the offensive line coach, originally from Baton Rouge, he's done a tremendous job. And you think about those 2 anchors on the offensive line right now, Emory Jones, Will Campbell, both guys from Louisiana, Weston Davis coming over from Beaumont, right? That's a big get, especially when a guy like Zalance Hurd hits the portal. He ends up at Tennessee. So you got to backfill this position a little bit. They go down to New Orleans. They get a guy like Kyrie Lee, who I think's got some tackle and guard versatility. And then you think about a guy like Cohen Eccles out of Katy, Texas. They've done a tremendous job in that state over the years. They continue to do that. So you think about a strength in terms of this team from a roster standpoint. It's been at the point of attack on the offensive line, which really has the feel of a Brian Kelly football team. They have continued to accentuate that strength in the 2024 class. They've done a tremendous job, and hats off to Brad Davis.
Brian Kelly said in December after the first signing period that he wants to build this program on freshmen, and that's holding true. You look at the year-over-year numbers, his number of transfer players taken in has been cut in half. So, Coop, as BK begins his third season at the helm in Baton Rouge, which freshman prospects do you think the coaching staff is most excited about? I'm
going to go with Caden Durham. You know, I would call around there, Baton Rouge, and get some feedback, and they say, hey, what do you think about this Caden Durham guy? They're excited about this guy, 5'9", 200 pounds, and you talk about a guy that can absolutely roll. He is a bowling ball on the field, north-south runner, plays with very limited wasted motion. He kind of sees a hole and he hits it. So you think about the explosive plays, especially on the ground. LSU, one of the best offenses in college football with Jaden Daniels. You think about what he could do with his legs, the former Heisman Trophy winner. Well, they're going to have to get back to that traditional run game a little bit. They're super talented there. You think about guys like Caleb Jackson. Now you throw in a guy like Caden Durham. You got quite a 1-2 punch. So LSU going to get back to the basics. It's good to have that strong offensive line that we talked about. So expect to see under Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, a little bit more of the traditional LSU offense, ground and pound that we've seen in years past without Jaden Daniels.
On the defensive side of the ball, I know the folks in Baton Rouge are thrilled about Deshaun McBride. Is he a third-level defender as a safety? Can he eventually spin down to linebacker? I just know that they love his athleticism. He absolutely tore up his senior season, and in a combine testing setting, he had some of the best numbers of any player in the country. I think LSU views what they've done with Harold Perkins, maybe could use Deshaun McBride in a similar role, not as much off the edge, but as an off-ball linebacker that can really track and smack across the entire field.
All right, Brian Kelly coming off back-to-back 10-win seasons and now back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes. Hudson Standish and Cooper Petagna with the latest. Thank you, guys. And for more LSU recruiting and football news, head over to go247.com. Our staff in Baton Rouge is bringing you the latest on the Tigers all year round.